A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Welcome back to 2A News Now, and I really do appreciate you taking your time tuning into my video. A Florida judge gave a woman an ultimatum. She could give up her guns or her husband would go to prison. Last week, a Florida judge forced Lisa Marok to renounce her Second Amendment rights. She had to give up her concealed weapon and her firearm permit and remove all firearms and every single round of ammunition from her home, even though she hadn't been accused of a single crime. If she failed to comply with the judge's unconstitutional order, her husband could have served 19 months in state prison. If she complied, her husband would be sentenced to probation and walk out of the courtroom a free man. You have a choice, the judge told her. Your guns or your husband. The events that led up to her strange dilemma began years ago when her husband, Ralph Marok, was working for the Florida Department of Transportation. Ralph Marok, who is now 60 years old, fell off a Department of Transportation truck and injured his back. Ralph Marok became addicted to pain pills and turned to street drugs after Florida and other states made it more difficult to obtain prescription painkillers. On April 6, 2022, at 1:38 a.m., Ralph Marok's addiction reached a crisis point. According to the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office, deputies were sent to his home to investigate a shots fired call. Investigators had determined that the home across the street was struck by gunfire. One round went through a glass picture window, and another struck the exterior wall. In addition, the right tail light was shot out of a blue Mercury Montego that was parked at the home. No one was injured. A total of 19 shell casings were found at the scene, including both 40 and 45 calibers. Officers recovered 3 handguns of the same caliber. Deputies made contact with Mr. Marok, who was highly agitated and in an excited state. Mr. Marok said he had been fighting several people who were attempting to kill his family. He was cleared by medical personnel and was detained as part of the shooting investigation. While being cleared by medical personnel at a local hospital, the medical personnel advised him he had numerous illegal narcotics in his system, including cocaine. Several neighbors identified Ralph Marok as the shooter. One neighbor told investigators that Marok went door to door with a rifle, adding there was no one chasing him. Ralph Marok was charged with violating 2 state statutes: shooting into a vehicle or dwelling, which is a felony, and criminal mischief with under $200 damage, which is a misdemeanor. Charlotte County deputies removed all the firearms from Marok's home, not just the 3 involved in the shooting. Many of the firearms were antiques and or collectibles, including a Colt 1911 and a matched pair of .357 Magnum revolvers with consecutive serial numbers. 5 of the firearms belonged to his wife, Lisa Marok, 3 of them an SKS, a 1911 and a .357 Magnum revolver belonged to their son, Thomas. Over the years, his addiction changed Mr. Marok. Prosecutors seemingly took his addiction into account. When they drafted his plea agreement, they offered a no-jail plea deal in which Marok would be sentenced to 10 years of probation, but the term would be reduced to 5 years if he successfully completes a treatment program, attends AA meetings regularly, and makes restitution to his neighbors. Lisa Marok accompanied her husband to the hearing last week to accept the deal, which was a mere formality, or so she thought. When the judge told Ralph he couldn't have a single gun in the house whatsoever, she said she kinda made a face. She assumed the judge was looking at her because he called her up to the stand and swore her in. The judge told her she couldn't ever own a gun again, ever in her whole life. He said, you got a choice, your guns or your husband. She said of course she was going to pick her husband. He said they couldn't have any guns in the house, no guns whatsoever. He said she couldn't carry a gun for protection anymore. The judge took away all of her Second Amendment rights. All of Marok's firearms remain in custody of the Charlotte County Sheriff's Office. Lisa Marok said she's scared to go pick them up because she doesn't want her husband to go to prison. She says she's a law-abiding citizen and what the judge did was wrong. Jacksonville, Florida-based attorney Eric Friday, who specializes in firearm law and Second Amendment rights, said the judge's order went too far. Mr. Marok's family has a right to continue to own guns, as long as he's not in possession. The Mark's son Thomas agrees. He recently bought his mother a gun safe, which only has one key, but the safe remains empty. He said he worries if his mom waits too long to pick up the guns, they might get lost or damaged. He also said he thinks the judge was anti-gun. His mom told him during sentencing that if it were up to the judge, his dad would serve jail time and his guns would be taken away as well. I've made quite a few videos over the years that firearms that have been confiscated by police departments, that after extended periods of time, them being stored in property rooms, that they just disappear, or parts are missing off them, or they're badly damaged. And when I say disappear, some of them end up in the collections of the police officers. I can kind of understand that the judge doesn't want guns in the house where they live, but to take away the wife's Second Amendment rights is absolutely ridiculous and unconstitutional. She should be able to get her guns and at least store them in another location, and she should be able to carry her firearm for self-defense. This is a very unique story, and I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments section down below. And I appreciate everybody's support with the channel. You guys are always crushing it by liking, sharing, and subscribing and hitting those post notifications. And I invite you back to watch my next video.